Yo, what's up guys? Video on Etheria restart once again, second one of today. And this is talking about skill ups. So putting perfect lattices towards units. And we're going to be talking both about SSRs and SRs. And I actually took all of the units that I think are useful in the early game. Because I've seen a whole bunch of guides. Like Shambi, I really did like the guide, for example. But he was talking about using 70 or 80 perfect lattices. I'm like, yeah, that's not really what you're going to be doing early game. Plus, then you still don't really know in what order should you be using your perfect lattices. So these are all the units that I think are arguably on the list for getting lattices in the first place, or lattice, whatever it's called. But I like lattices, whatever is wrong or right, I don't know. But the thing is, I think you should first have like, okay, it's depending on what units you have, and what is your focus. So your focus could be, for example, like this one. The first one can't really fill in for you. But the second one could be either Terrormaton, could be Doki, could be Aurora, could be straight up PvP. I think that those are the three focuses that we could be looking at. And I think with that, we're going to be filling in for all of the focuses what I would recommend to start skilling up then. So I will place a few in, I would say, this kind of style, just to put any notation to it, that if you do have this unit, focus on that first, and also what skill up first. So if you do have a Lily, I think Lily is just that good all around that you definitely want to skill this up first, but you only want to do the S1. At some point later, you are going to be doing the rest as well, later S2, S3. You would still do the rest, but I would start off with an S1, and then I'll do the others later. So I would first go down the list of everything else, and then do the things later. I'm gonna put the same thing for a Messiah, and this is actually not Terrormaton, this is more all-round, I would say. So let's say all-round. This. Okay, perfect. And then we go for, I would say, a Messiah. And Messiah is what, in my opinion, is the second most like value on its skill. If you use this thing a lot, you want to go all the way third skill. So Messiah is third skill. Later, you will go for skill 1 and skill 2. I would definitely do both. But I would say that this also in this order. So first the S2, then the S3. But I would definitely say, oh, wait, this is a little bit, let's zoom like this. Yep. So I would say for all round, if you have those, I would absolutely be focusing on those. Then for all round, I would say it kind of depends where you want to start focusing on then. Because I think for all round, that is probably the first two that you really focus on. Super all round afterwards, it's more of like, okay, where do you actually go for and what do you focus on? So could be a bunch of things. I would say if you're focusing on a Rosa, now let's start off with Terrormaton. If you want to focus Terrormaton, what should you be having for skill ups? Well, most teams that you see nowadays are a Valerian. Valerian does need a S3 max. Later, wouldn't really focus the rest on later, to be honest. But that is definitely a recommended one over there. You also see pretty much everyone go for the thing, and the thing is really good in that as well. S3, and let's just not say max, because we do know it's max anyways. So this, and then I would say you go for, no wait, S2 first, into the S3, into the S1. I would recommend to do all of them. I wouldn't not necessarily say like do this later. I would just straight up recommend to do all of them. And that is the main theme that you're seeing a lot for being used. Let's showcase it over here. If we go to the Hell Force, you definitely do see a lot of teams where you pretty much have something along the lines which would use, oh damn, that's a fast clear right there. But you see a lot of the things being placed in there. Sure, a lot of the teams are Lily based. There are not that many teams that are not Lily based. Jesus hell, this is all Lily based. There's a few that are not Lily based, like something like this. You could go for colorless in here, which could also be a good and damage, but I would say if you go colorless plus the thing, it's definitely an option as well. But yeah, this is a Terrormaton if you do have the thing. If you, let's say this one, no Lily, I would probably say main DPS, and then mostly you go for S3s. Like in the case of colorless, I'm pretty sure it's the S3 you want to do first. That is also a thing. You can click on what the other people have. If you have a certain team in mind, you can check what the other people have for skill ups, and then you can start focusing on that. This one, did he put anything in that? Is maybe an option as well that I would say also if no Lily could be no DPS in the case of, well, let's say we do this. No Lily, and then we go for a Colorless or whatever. I write it wrong. I don't care. I do care, kind of. Is that it's this and then this Colorless. Okay, sure. I would say for the S3 and a Fungus, maybe you could go for the, what I saw was an S2, what people were doing. So that is definitely an option you could go for, but I think they're also maxing the S1. They're not really maxing the S3 because the S3 is not really into, or that's more for the dots and you care a little bit less about that, I would say. So that is options out there that you could go for if you don't have the thing. But that is the main thing that you would have to have for a lot of the teams you see over here. You also do see Freya in this team, but Freya doesn't really need any skill ups. I would say Claws, you see a decent amount of that as well, but Claws also doesn't really need any skill ups as of yet. So those are definitely two things that I would recommend to you focus on later. But you do see everyone with the Lily having the skill 1 maxed. So that is pretty much your Terrormaton for skill ups that you would have to do. So let's move on to DokiDoki skill ups. So what you often see in DokiDoki, of course, is teams that are revolving around Romocha. If you are using Romocha, you definitely go for the Romocha S3. It is 100% a must. You probably will do the S2 and 3 or the S2 and 1 later, but I think they're not as impactful if I remember. Yeah, they're definitely not as impactful by a long shot. It's really just all about that S3 that you do want to have. Another one that is pretty much a must that you will go for is either your Kazuya or Kraken. You're going to be going for the, let's say for both, S3 max. You definitely do want to go for those two max as well. Linglos in most cases aren't buffed in their healing as well. If you go Valerian, it is definitely, that's more of like a, let's say, if, then you would go for an S3 max as well. And then, of course, if you already have a Lily, it's already maxed. But I would also say that this one, if there is an option that I would say if Mio, and then Mio replacement on, let's call it like this, if Mio, I think you have to go for Mio. Well, the issue about the Mio is, wait, is anyone using a Mio here in Hell? No one really using Mios in Hell 4. Well, I think that's kind of understandable that people are not really using Mios in Hell 4 because you need a lot of skill ups. You preferably want to have the full skill 3, the full skill 2, and the full skill 1, which this guy is working up pretty hard. So yeah, if you have that fully on all, then it's really good. I would say S2 into S3 into S1, but needs all. Yeah, that's kind of the sad part about it. You would need about everything because the skill 1 does have the extra speed in there. The skill 2 is needed for the freezes, but the skill 3 is his first skill. So if you do want to use the Mio, you kind of have to get all of them in there. And therefore, just getting a Kazuyo or a Kraken in there is a lot easier for a lot of people. So that's definitely my recommendation on that one right there. What else do you see on the team over here? I think it's pretty much the same. Like if you have Messiah and Lily are already mentioned in the all-round, so I don't have to really mention them again. If Gray, that is definitely a one that is important as well. If Gray, I would say most people go for the S3 fully. Yep, S3 fully, S1 also fully in this case. Do most people go S3 and S2 fully? Yeah, it does seem like that. Well, it does make sense. You get extra attack from that. So I would say S3 first into the S2. I would definitely go for both. S1 is not really as much needed. If Claws doesn't really need any. I would say Claws is more of like a thing that you could work on later, but Gray is definitely also a lot easy to skill up, so therefore that is definitely something that you could be working on at a later moment. So we did already mention this one, we did already mention that one. Shadow Sania is kind of ripped, but you could, let's say this as an ifer as well. You do want to kind of go for the S1, but that's, she kind of ripped. Like we know what it is on that one. Then we have for the other ones, well, we did already mention the thing, we did already mention you, we did already mention you. I would say that not that many people are using a Siaki the Echo, but if you are using a Siaki the Echo for this, no, I think no one is really using this. Let's actually say if Sanya, then you definitely want to go for if I would say, honestly, I do expect these people to have her full. So 3, the 2 almost, and the 1. Yep, that makes sense. 3, the 2, and not the 1. I would say the 1 is high value as well, because that's where her speeder's in. And her S1 also gives her more turn meter the moment she takes a turn. So because of that speed and the turn meter, I would go for an S3 into an S2 into an S1. And I would highly recommend, if you're using her a lot, to actually go for that in the first place as well, because it's just really incredibly good. So yeah, that's pretty much, there's a whole bunch of ifs, and if you use a Rosa or you use any other damage dealer, I would say that you also would have to do one of those, but I'll talk about those a little bit later. So actually, this Rahul is not taking any. I wonder how safe this run is, because this run is legit like hours in, but I think it kind of works because his Sanya is pretty stacked on skill ups and everything, and it's 6 start and that kind of stuff. So I think that for the main team, should probably have everything touched by that. So let's see for Aurora. What do we have for the order of Aurora that we do see a lot in the teams? We definitely, once again, see the Thing. The Thing is absolutely one of those. Once again, same thing over there. We do see a lot of Vipers, I would say. Do we actually see a decent amount of Vipers? Yeah, we see some Vipers, some Ciadas. Mostly Vipers. So I think Viper is the easiest to build early on for stripping this, because the strip on the Viper is technically a little bit better than the strip on the Heinrich, because the strip on the Viper is better for also giving the slow and the speed down, which is definitely really nice as well. And the thing is, you could actually, same as this guy, just make it level 2. So S3, level 2. So not fully maxed, but you can just give it a little bit and it does already work. It is better if it's maxed, of course, and this guy actually went full on maxing it. It is definitely a unit you can also use towards PvP, so it's not a bad unit in it altogether. But yeah, and then let's say the if you go for a Heinrich, yep, you definitely want to go for that S3 max. Because the Heinrich S3, do we actually have any Heinrich in here? Yeah, the Heinrich S3 gives you the block of beneficial effects for 2 turns. And that's the main thing you do want to go for. Like, the cooldown reduction is nice and all, but it's mainly the block of beneficial effects that you do want to go for if you take him in the strip position. Most of the times, Linglos are not skilled up if they're used. Lily is already mentioned. If Rosa, which is going to be the damage dealer, if Rosa, you definitely want to go for the S2, and I think most people just leave it as the S2. You probably will do the S3 / or I would say S1 into S3 later, but that's definitely a later thing that you would want to go for. I think early on, it's not really what you want to focus on just yet. Then most of the other teams are pretty much like, once again, if you use a Valerian is going to be for the S3 once again. And in this case, you mostly do want to use 2 healers. Like, you do want to have a Linglo plus a Valerian for this, because it's just definitely a little bit more of a difficult dungeon to make that work all together. So that's definitely my recommendation on there as well. And yeah, that does mean that you kind of have to pull the Viper, but you actually do see that some Vipers are just 5-star, a little bit of skill ups in, definitely not that much skill ups just needed, and they kind of already perform. So that is the thing for there. So then we still have a bunch of units. So we did talk about you. Marvell is still, like, I would say, I do want to place this one for the all-rounders. You must, all-rounders, and you definitely want to go for the S3 into the S2. I would say even you all the way at the top, because you're the highest value for skill ups in the first place. And then we have claws. I think that those are a little bit later. And PvP, it kind of depends what kind of roster you're working with. I think that that's kind of a thing. Like, in the end, everyone kind of has to work on the dungeons first. And I think I'll leave PvP out of it for now. Also, the Tiamat and the Linglo, it's more like, yeah, Tiamat is good the moment you do want to focus on her. But it's definitely one of those things you can maybe slack out a little bit more on. So I think that most people will have a surviving kit the moment that, like, let's say you go for... You have the all-rounders, you want to go for those 3 for sure. If you do focus on Terrormaton, then of course you do have the Lily in there but then you're probably focusing on those two. If you don't use, well, I would say if you don't use Lily, then you need a second DPSer. So that's mainly the thing. Lily is replaced then by a second DPSer just to kill it fast enough. Or you go for the Shadow Sania. That's, of course, also an option. For DokiDoki, it's kind of depending what team you have, but you need at least one of this. You're gonna need your damage dealer. If you don't use a Ramocha, it could be a Siada. Let's actually see what people are using on Siada the moment that you go for a Hell stage in this. Are they stacking out the skill 1? I do think it was the skill 1 that they would be stacking out. Or actually not that many Siadas in here for Hell 4 at all. Nope, not at all. So in that case, most damage dealers are either the Ramocha or the Messiah. Or they just do it with a Grey and then see what works besides that. But most of the time, it is a Messiah or it is a Ramocha. You can kind of go for Rosa, but I would say this, if you do want to go for Rosa, it is stated in here anyways. Valerian S3, Grey S3 into the S2 Sanya. If you do want to keep using that, I would say all skills. It's definitely a really strong one to have all skills on. Rosa for Aurora. If you go Rosa route, then you definitely want to go the S2. If you go for the Thing route, you go for the 2, 3, and 1. And then Viper, maybe a little bit on the S2, but it's not as much of a must. If you go Valerian, you definitely want to go on that S3, which is highly recommended because the Sanya is workable on Aurora. But the big issue is that this does a lot more damage to your Sanya, which is not really that recommended. And I would say then for the Linglo, you don't really need that. So these are the skill ups that I would recommend. Then also, what am I planning to do? So I did, of course, the 3 over here. I did already finish all of those. Then I went for the, I'm working on the Thing right now, which I definitely will max out. I will have to do a Kazuya or Kraken on the S3, unless I want to put like 8 Lattices or more into the Mio, which I am somewhat tempted to, but I'm still not really sure about that yet. So that is kind of my thing that I'm not 100% sure about. I think I will work my first team for a Viper as well for the clearing of Aurora. I could do that with a Heinrich, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be good enough to do that with a Heinrich, because in the end, the slow and the attack break from Viper is just a lot more value for than Heinrich early on. So I think I might skip out on that for now. Just do a little bit of work on a Viper. You don't need a crazy good Viper. You just need him tanky. You don't need any stat or like damage stats on him. He just is there for the strip and the counters and the skills that way. So I think that a low level of Viper would do. But then I would say the moment I go for because after this I still have a lot of perfect Lattices left, then I probably will start working on the Mio or the Heinrich skill 3. So I would say this, and then also for Mio, which as mentioned, those are more for all-rounders. And I think I will start with the S3, at least until the part where we have the S3 being to the point where it goes for more turn meter steal. I think the turn meter steal is really strong, at least this one. But I think I'll just fully do it. I think I'll just fully send Mio, because I think Mio is incredibly good also for any sync echo and all of that kind of good stuff. So I think that this will be my route. So currently I will be focusing on a Heinrich skill 3. After Heinrich skill 3, I will go for a Mio skill 3, skill 2, skill 1. That is going to be my plan. And then sure, my Kazuya will be kind of replaced for... I think I will not go for Kraken. I will go for a Kazuya. So this one, I will go for that S3. So currently I'm probably have to be working on those things. And no, wait, one more thing that I have to work on is, of course, the Valerian skill 3. So I will be actually doing that right after this. I think I will do it in this order. And then afterwards, I will start focusing everything on the Mio. And then after the Mio, I will go back to the... do I go back to the Lily or do I go to the Messiah? I think I will go for Lily, S2 and S3, and then I'll go for Messiah into the S1 into the S2. I think that's going to be my game plan, and with this I already used like 20 more Lattices or some shit, which I definitely don't have anytime soon, but that is going to be my game plan. And after that, I am kind of tempted to go for a Linglo, because I kind of like her a lot. Linglo, and then I would say S1 into the S3 into maybe an S2. But that kind of does depend how far we get by that point, and we're already like a few weeks, maybe even month down the line. But that is going to be my plan. I am not planning to put anything in Romocha because I don't really want to put 4 Lattices for her to just clear DokiDoki. Whereas I do think that a Messiah with a proper team can also do the same thing, maybe even better. So, well, probably no. Remove the last part. Doesn't do it better, but I don't want to put 4 Lattices for her just to clear DokiDoki. That is the main reason why I don't really want to put that to her. And yeah, that will be the things that I'm working on. And then also after that, I still have a lot of units that I could maybe start working on the Hell Kit. Ooh, maybe I would actually do Hell Kit in front of one of those, because Hell Kit is really good if I max out that skill 3. So many choices. Well, let's say first of all, I think that this is pretty much set in stone. Maybe this is even set in stone, and afterward it kind of depends what I feel like at that point. But that is all the skill ups in order for me, and also my recommendations for the 3 different main dungeons. Guys, hope you enjoyed this one. If this was useful for you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and see you as always in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.